Jin-Ah Kim's fingers moved quickly over the control panel. She never made a sound when she worked. The only noise came from the soft peeps of the ship's systems and the hum of the engines far below. "Hey Jin-Ah, can you check the oxygen filters in Section C?" called Bora from across the engineering room. Jin-Ah nodded once and stood up. She didn't need to speak. Her work spoke for her. Everyone on the Halcyon knew that if Jin-Ah fixed something, it stayed fixed. The Halcyon was not a warship. It was a research vessel, built to study distant planets and collect samples. Its crew of 50 people were scientists, engineers, and researchers. They were not soldiers. At least, that's what everyone thought. Jin-Ah walked through the long corridors of the ship. Her steps were light, almost like she was floating. People smiled at her as she passed, but she only gave small nods in return. Some thought she was shy. Others thought she was rude. No one really knew her. In Section C, Jin-Ah opened the main panel and began checking the oxygen filters. Her small hands worked with perfect skill. She could feel when something was wrong before the ship's computers could detect it. This wasn't just training. This was something deeper. "You're always so focused," said a voice behind her. Jin-Ah didn't jump or look surprised. She had heard Dr. Sunma's footsteps long before she spoke. "The filters need cleaning," Jin-Ah said simply. Her voice was soft but clear. Dr. Sunma leaned against the wall and watched her work. The doctor was the most observant person on the ship. She noticed things others missed. "You know," said Sunma, "most people from the Tech Academy take years to get this good, but you came on board already perfect at your job." Jin-Ah kept working, her face showing nothing. "It's almost like you had a different kind of training," Sunma added. For just a second, Jin-Ah's hands paused. Then she continued working as if nothing had happened. But Sunma had seen the pause. The ship's alarm suddenly blared through the corridors, making Sunma jump. Jin-Ah simply closed the panel she was working on and stood up. "All senior staff to the command deck immediately." Captain Daho's voice came over the speakers. His voice was tense. "That doesn't sound good," Sunma said, already moving toward the elevator. She noticed that Jin-Ah was walking with her. "Are you coming too? You're not senior staff." "The captain will need all system reports," Jin-Ah said. It made sense, but Sunma felt there was another reason. When they reached the command deck, most of the senior staff were already there. Captain Daho stood at the main view screen, his face grim. The screen showed a distant planet with several ships in orbit around it. 10 minutes ago, we received a distress signal from the human colony on Proxima B, he said. They're under attack. The room filled with worried voices. Jin-Ah moved to a side console and began checking systems quietly. Who would attack a research colony? Asked Chief Scientist Minho. Captain Daho pressed a button, and the view screen zoomed in on one of the ships. It was dark, with sharp angles and glowing red lights. Everyone fell silent. "The Velker," whispered someone. Jin-Ah's eyes narrowed slightly at the name. "They're a warrior species from the outer systems," Captain Daho explained. "They've had minor conflicts with human outposts before, but never a full attack like this." "What can we do?" asked Sunma. "We're not a military vessel." "We're the only ship within range," said the captain. "I've already changed our course. We'll reach Proxima B in 12 hours. Jin-Ah's fingers were flying over her console now, checking weapon systems that were rarely used. No one noticed except Sunma, who watched with growing curiosity. "All departments prepare for possible emergency situations," ordered the captain. "This is not a drill." As the meeting broke up and people rushed to their stations, Sunma noticed something strange. While everyone else looked worried or scared, Jin-Ah's face showed something different. Her eyes had a sharp, focused look that hadn't been there before. It was the look of someone who had faced danger before, someone who knew exactly what to do. The 12 hours passed quickly. Jinnah spent most of this time checking the ship's systems. She paid special attention to the security doors and emergency protocols that no one had used in years. "We are approaching Proxima B," announced Captain Daho over the ship's speakers. "All crew to alert stations." Jinnah finished her work in the lower engine room and took the elevator to the observation deck. When she arrived, many crew members were already there, watching the main screen with worried faces. The sight made everyone quiet. The human colony, once full of tall buildings and green parks, was now burning. Dark smoke rose from many places. 3 large Velcor ships hung in orbit like black spiders. "This is Captain Daho of the Earth research vessel Halcyon *," the captain said into the communication system. "We are here to help the colony. Please respond." For a long moment, there was only static. Then a harsh voice answered. "Earth vessel, this colony is now under Velcor control. Leave this system immediately." The voice was cold and flat. It did not sound like it cared about human lives. "There are injured people down there," Captain Daho said. "We are not a military ship. We only want to provide medical help. No Earth vessels are permitted. This is your only warning." The communication ended. The captain looked around at his crew. They were scientists and researchers, not fighters. "We can't just leave," said Dr. Sunme. "There could be hundreds of survivors." The captain nodded. "We'll maintain position and try to scan for life signs." Jinnah moved quietly to a side panel and began typing commands. Her face showed nothing, but her eyes were alert, watching everything. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Captain, energy spike from the Velcor ships," shouted Tawu, the young sensor operator. "They're targeting us." "Raise shields," ordered the captain. The ship shook as something hit it. The lights flickered. "That was just a warning shot," said the first officer. "They could have destroyed us." Before anyone could respond, a new alarm sounded. "Intruder alert! Intruder alert!" the computer announced. Jinnah's head snapped up. She knew what this meant. The Velcor had teleported aboard. "Security teams to all decks," the captain ordered, but his voice betrayed his worry. The Halcyon * had only basic security staff, not trained fighters. The doors to the command deck slid open. 5 tall figures stepped in. They were the Velcor, over 7 feet tall with gray skin and black armor. They carried weapons that glowed with strange energy. "This vessel is now under Velcor command," said the leader. His voice was the same cold one from the communication. "Resistance will result in immediate execution." The crew froze in fear. 2 security officers reached for their stun weapons, but the Velcor were faster. Energy blasts hit the officers, sending them crashing to the floor. "Anyone else?" asked the Velcor leader. Captain Daho stepped forward, hands raised. "We are a peaceful research vessel. We mean no harm." The Velcor leader made a sound like rocks grinding together, possibly laughter. "Humans, always talking of peace while preparing for war." Jinnah had moved to the back of the room, beside a maintenance panel. While everyone watched the captain and the Velcor, her fingers quickly typed a code into the small keypad. "All crew members will be taken to the main cargo hold," announced the Velcor leader. "More of my warriors are securing the ship now." As the crew was forced out of the command deck at weapon point, Jinnah slipped through a small maintenance door that had silently opened behind her. No one noticed her leave, not the crew, and not the Velcor. In the dark maintenance shaft, Jinnah moved with sure steps. The ship was being taken, the crew captured. But the Velcor had made a mistake. They hadn't counted all the humans on board. And they certainly didn't know what one quiet technician could do. Jinnah moved quickly through the narrow maintenance shafts. Her steps made no sound. She had spent months learning every inch of the Halcyon *, and now that knowledge would save lives. She stopped at a junction and listened. Heavy footsteps passed by on the deck above. Velcor soldiers searching the ship. When the sounds faded, she continued to a small maintenance room deep in the lower decks. Inside the room was a backup terminal. Jinna turned it on and accessed the ship's systems. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she pulled up security camera feeds. She could see the crew being herded into the main cargo hold. Armed Velkers stood guard at every entrance. Jinna took a deep breath and closed her eyes. For a moment, she was no longer on the Halcyon asterisk. She was back on Earth, 5 years ago. "Cadet Kim, your test scores are the highest we've ever seen," said Commander Park. They stood in a white room deep beneath a mountain. This was the headquarters of Project Spectre, Earth's secret defense program. Young Jinna stood straight, her face showing no emotion. "Thank you, sir. Combat excellence, perfect stealth scores, top marks in tactics, engineering, and systems hacking," he read from his tablet. "You're exactly what this program was created for." Jinna remembered the years of training that followed, the missions no one could know about, the things she had to do to protect Earth's colonies, the last mission that went wrong, the civilians who died because of a mistake she made. After that, she had left the program, changed her records, became just a ship technician. She had promised herself never to be a weapon again. But now, people would die if she did nothing. Jinna opened her eyes. The past was the past. Now she had work to do. First, she disabled the ship's tracking beacons. The Velkor ships wouldn't be able to monitor the Halcyon's exact position if anything happened to their boarding party. Next, she accessed the environmental controls. With careful commands, she adjusted the oxygen levels throughout the ship. The areas where the Velkor would slowly receive less oxygen. Not enough to harm humans, but enough to make the aliens, who needed more oxygen than humans, feel sluggish over the next few hours. Jinna then checked the Velkor communications. They were sending regular reports to their main ships. She created a program that would continue these reports automatically, making it seem like everything was normal. Finally, she pulled up the crew manifest. 53 crew members were on board. From the security feeds, she counted 50 in the cargo hold. Captain Daeho and First Officer Han were being held separately on the bridge. That meant one other crew member besides herself was not captured. A noise in the shaft behind her made Jinna freeze. Someone was coming. She quickly shut down the terminal and moved to the shadows beside the door. The panel slid open and a figure stumbled in. It was Tawu, the young sensor operator. His uniform was torn, and he was breathing hard. "Hello," he whispered, looking around the dark room. "Is anyone?" Jinna stepped forward, placing her hand over his mouth. Taiwu's eyes went wide with fear, then recognition. "Jinna," he whispered when she removed her hand. "How did you?" "Quiet," she said softly. "Velkor hearing is very good." "They're taking over the ship," Taiwu said. "I managed to slip away when they weren't looking, but I don't know what to do." Jinna studied him for a moment. He was young and scared, but he had been smart enough to escape. She needed help, and he was the only option. "I have a plan," she said, "but you must do exactly as I say." Taiwu looked confused. "You're just a technician. What can we do against them?" Jinna turned back to the terminal and opened a hidden file. On the screen appeared detailed schematics of the Velkor armor and weapons. "I am not just a technician," she said simply. Taiwu stared at the screen, then at Jinna. For the first time, he saw something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. A cold, deadly focus that made him shiver. "Who are you?" he asked. Jinna began typing commands into the terminal. "Someone who can save this ship, if you help me." "We need to move," Jinna said, closing the files on the terminal. "It's not safe to stay in one place too long." Taiwu nodded, still shocked by what he had learned. "What's the plan?" Jinna pulled a small tool kit from under the terminal. She opened it to reveal not just tools, but also small devices Taiwu had never seen before. "First, we need to know exactly where all the Velkor are," she said, taking out a small round device. She pressed its center, and it lit up with a soft blue glow. This will scan for their body heat patterns. They run hotter than humans. She placed the device against the wall. After a few seconds, it projected a simple map of the nearby decks. Red dots showed the positions of the Velcor. There are 2 guards in the corridor that leads to the weapons locker, Jinnah said. We need to get past them. Taiwu looked worried. They're twice our size and have those energy weapons. How can we fight them? Jinnah didn't answer. Instead, she accessed the ship's systems from the terminal again. I'm going to create a distraction. When I give the signal, follow me and don't make a sound. She typed several commands, then pressed enter. Suddenly, alarms blared in a distant part of the ship. Warning, coolant leak in engine section B, announced the ship's computer. On the small map, they watched as the 2 red dots moved away from their position, heading toward the alarm. Now, Jinnah said, sliding open the maintenance door. They moved quickly through the corridors. Jinnah went first, checking each corner before moving forward. Taiwu tried to copy her movements, but he felt clumsy compared to her silent grace. They reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Jinnah held up her hand for Taiwu to stop. She pointed to her ear, then down the left corridor. Taiwu listened. At first, he heard nothing. Then, faint but getting closer, came the sound of heavy footsteps. A Velcor was coming. Jinnah pushed Taiwu back against the wall and put her finger to her lips. From her pocket, she took out a small silver ball. When the footsteps were very close, she rolled the ball around the corner. There was a soft hiss, followed by a heavy thud. Jinnah peered around the corner, then signaled for Taiwu to follow. A Velcor soldier lay on the floor, not moving. The alien was huge up close, with gray skin and sharp features. A fine mist hung in the air around it. Sleep gas, Jinnah explained. He'll wake up with a headache in 20 minutes. Help me drag him into that storage room. Taiwu stared at her. Where did you get sleep gas? Jinnah was already grabbing the Velcor's arms. I made it from chemicals in the science lab. Hurry. Together, they pulled the heavy alien into a storage room. Jinnah took the Velcor's communication device and weapon. These might be useful, she said, examining the alien gun. Simple design. Energy-based. 3 power settings. She adjusted something on the side of the weapon, now set to stun. They continued through the ship, avoiding Velcor patrols. At one point, they had to hide in an air duct as 3 soldiers marched past. Taiwu held his breath until they were gone. Finally, they'd reached the small security station near the crew quarters. Jinnah quickly disabled the lock, and they slipped inside. We can access all security systems from here, she said, turning on the main console, and contact other parts of the ship. She typed in a series of codes that Taiwu didn't recognize. The screen changed to show the cargo hold where most of the crew was being held. 4 Velcor guards stood watch over them. Can we help them? Taiwu asked. Not yet, Jinnah replied. We need more help first. She accessed the ship's communication system and sent a series of clicks and pauses, a code that Taiwu didn't understand. After a moment, a response came back in the same pattern. Dr. Sunmai is in the medical bay, Jinnah said. She was treating injured crew when the Velcor came. They're guarding her, but she can move around the medical area. How does she know your code? Taiwu asked, surprised. Jinnah's face showed the hint of a smile for the first time. She doesn't. She's just very smart. She turned back to the console. Time for our first real move. On the bridge of the Halcyon Asterisk, the Velcor commander stood tall over Captain Dao. The alien's name was Krell, and his dark armor had more markings than the others, showing his high rank. Your ship's systems are strange, Krell said. They do not respond correctly. Captain Dao kept his face calm. Our systems are old. They need special handling. Krell made a low growling sound. My technicians are the best in the Velcor fleet. They will figure it out. He turned to look at the main screen, which showed the cargo hold full of crew members. Your people are quiet. Humans usually talk more when they are afraid. They are scientists, not soldiers, the captain said. They don't understand war. One of the Velcor soldiers approached Krell. Commander, we have a problem. 2 of our warriors are not responding to calls. Krell's yellow eyes narrowed. Find them. We have searched the areas they were guarding. They are not there. Krell turned back to Captain Daho. It seems some of your scientists are causing trouble. He pressed a button on his armor, and his voice echoed throughout the ship. Attention, humans. Some of you are hiding and interfering with our work. If those people do not surrender in 1 hour, we will kill 10 crew members. Down in the security station, Jinna and Tai Wu heard the announcement. Tai Wu's face went pale. They'll do it, he whispered. The Velcor never make empty threats. Jinna's face remained calm. They won't kill anyone if we move fast enough. She turned to the communication system and sent another coded message to Dr. Sunmai in the medical bay. A response came quickly. Then Jinna did something unexpected. She opened a secure channel directly to the captain's private emergency communicator. Captain, this is Jinna Kim, she said quietly. Please do not react or show that you are receiving this message. On the bridge, Captain Daho's eyes widened slightly, but he kept his face neutral as Krell paced in front of him. I have a plan to take back the ship, Jinna continued, but I need you to know who I am. Check personnel file Spectre 117. The captain slowly moved his hand to his wrist communicator. He pressed a hidden button that allowed him to access crew files. When Jinna's file opened, most of it was blacked out. Only one line was clear. Former operative. Project Spectre. Earth Defense Special Forces. Captain Daho had heard rumors about Project Spectre. It was said to be a secret program that trained the best human operatives for critical missions. Most people thought it was just a story. Now he knew better. I understand, he whispered, so quietly that Krell did not hear. Keep the commander on the bridge, Jinna said. In 30 minutes, the lights will flicker. When that happens, drop to the floor. The communication ended. Captain Daho deleted the file and looked up at Krell. Commander, he said, perhaps I can help your technicians with our systems. Meanwhile, Jinna was working quickly at the security station. Tai Wu watched in amazement as she bypassed security protocols that should have been impossible to crack. How are you doing this? He asked. Project Spectre trained us to handle any technology, she replied, not looking up from her work. Human or alien. Project Spectre. What is that? Jinna paused for a moment. A program to create perfect operatives. People who could fight any enemy, use any weapon, survive any situation. She looked at him. People like me. Tai Wu stared at her. The quiet technician he had barely noticed for months was actually some kind of super soldier. Why are you working as a ship technician? He asked. A shadow passed across Jinna's face. I left that life behind. She turned back to the console. But now I need those skills again. She pressed a final button, and the ship's internal map appeared on screen. Red dots showed all the Velcor positions. It's time, she said. We're going to take back our ship. Jinna checked her small device one last time. On the screen, red dots showed the positions of all Velcor soldiers on the ship. They had spread out to search for her, which was exactly what she wanted. Are you ready? She asked Tai Wu. He looked nervous, but nodded. What do I do? Jinna handed him a small communicator. Go to the air circulation room. When I give the signal, press this button. It will release the sleep gas into sections 4, 7, and 9. What about the crew in those sections? The gas won't hurt humans, Jinna explained. It only affects the Velcor breathing system. But wear this mask just to be safe. She handed him a small breathing mask. Tawu took the items. What will you be doing? Jinnah picked up the Velcor weapon she had taken earlier, creating confusion. They split up, with Tawu heading to the lower decks through a maintenance shaft. Jinnah moved toward the engine room, where 4 Velcor were trying to understand the ship's drive systems. She reached a control panel and typed a series of commands. Suddenly, all the lights in the engine room went out. Inside the dark room, the Velcor soldiers switched on lights attached to their armor. They moved around, trying to find the problem. The power should have a backup system, one said. These human ships are primitive, another replied. From her hiding spot in an air vent above them, Jinnah watched through special glasses that let her see in the dark. When the soldiers split up to check different parts of the room, she made her move. She dropped silently behind the first Velcor. Before he could turn, she pressed a small device against his neck. A soft buzz, and the soldier fell to the floor, unconscious. The second Velcor turned at the sound of his comrade falling. Traz. What happened? Instead of answering, Jinnah rolled another sleep gas ball toward him. It released a small cloud that the Velcor breathed in before he could react. He swayed, then collapsed. The third Velcor saw this and raised his weapon. Intruder, he shouted. Jinnah was already moving. She slid across the floor as energy blasts hit the wall behind her. She fired the Velcor weapon she had taken. The shot hit the soldier's armor, making him stumble back. His armor protected him, but the force of the blast knocked his weapon from his hand. Jinnah fired again, this time at his unprotected knee. The Velcor fell with a cry of pain. The fourth Velcor ran into the room, alerted by the noise. He was bigger than the others, with more elaborate armor. A squad leader. Human. He growled, raising his weapon. Jinnah didn't hesitate. She fired at the ceiling above him. Metal panels and pipes fell, crashing down on the Velcor. He was pinned under the debris, still alive but trapped. Jinnah spoke into her communicator. Engine room secured. Tawu now. In the air circulation room, Tawu pressed the button Jinnah had given him. Throughout the ship, vents in sections 4, 7, and 9 released a fine mist. 6 more Velcor soldiers fell unconscious at their posts. On the bridge, Commander Krell received urgent messages from his warriors. We are under attack, one reported. Systems failing. Warriors not responding. Krell turned to Captain Daho with fury in his yellow eyes. What is happening? The captain's face showed nothing. I don't know. You have trained fighters on this ship, Krell said. No simple scientist could do this. At that moment, the bridge lights flickered, just as Jinnah had promised. Captain Daho immediately dropped to the floor. Krell looked up in confusion. It was the last thing he saw before the stun blast hit him. He staggered but didn't fall. His armor had absorbed much of the blast. From the doorway, Jinnah fired again. This time, Krell fell to one knee. Who are you? He demanded. Jinnah stepped into the light, the Velcor weapon steady in her hands. Just a technician, she said. Commander Krell was not easily defeated. Even on one knee, he was dangerous. With surprising speed, he threw a small device at Jinnah. It exploded in a flash of bright light. Jinnah had been trained for this. She closed her eyes just before the flash and moved to the side. When she opened them again, Krell was reaching for his fallen weapon. Captain, stay down, Jinnah shouted as she fired at Krell again. This time, the blast hit him directly in the chest. His armor cracked, and he fell backward. But Velcor were tough. He was stunned, not dead. Captain Daho scrambled to his feet and helped Jinnah secure Krell with restraints from the emergency kit. I never thought our quiet technician was a Spectre operative, the captain said, still amazed. We need to free the crew, Jinnah replied. Krell called for reinforcements from his fleet. We have maybe 2 hours before they arrive. They used the captain's override codes to access the ship's communication system. Attention all crew, Captain Deho announced. "This is not a drill. We are retaking the ship from the Velcor. Stay in your current positions until security teams reach you." Jinnah handed the captain a Velcor weapon. "Sir, can you free the bridge crew? I need to get to the cargo hold where most of the crew is being held." The captain nodded. "Be careful. The Velcor are not all accounted for." Jinnah moved quickly through the corridors. She met Tawu at a junction near the medical bay. "The sleep gas worked," he reported. 6 Velcor are down." "Good work," Jinnah said. "Now we need Dr. Sunmei." They found the doctor treating an injured crew member. When she saw them, she smiled. "I knew you were more than a technician," she said to Jinnah. "No one is that quiet without training." Jinnah checked her tracking device. 10 Velcor are still active on the ship. 4 are guarding the cargo hold where most of our crew is being held. "How do we get past 4 of them?" Tawu asked. "We're out of sleep gas." Jinnah looked at Dr. Sunmei. "We need a distraction. And I have an idea." 20 minutes later, Dr. Sunmei stumbled into the corridor outside the cargo hold. She looked injured and afraid. "Help," she called. "There's a fire in the medical bay. People are hurt." 2 of the Velcor guards looked at each other. One stepped forward. "What fire?" "No alarms have sounded." "The alarm system is damaged," Sunmei said, catching her breath. "Please, we need help moving the injured." The Velcor guard spoke into his communicator. "Commander, a human reports a fire." When no answer came, he tried again. "Commander Krell." While the guards were distracted, Jinnah and Taiwu moved into position at 2 different entry points to the cargo hold. "Now," Jinnah said into her communicator. The lights in the corridor suddenly went out. In the darkness, Jinnah moved. She fired 2 quick shots, taking down 1 guard before he could react. Tawu, following Jinnah's instructions, rolled a metal canister down the corridor. It made a loud noise, drawing the attention of the 2nd guard. When he turned to look, Jinnah fired again. The remaining 2 guards took cover and began firing back. Energy blasts hit the walls around Jinnah as she moved from shadow to shadow. From inside the cargo hold, the crew could hear the fight. Chief Engineer Bora whispered to those around her, "Someone's out there. Get ready to move when I say." Outside, Jinnah had worked her way behind the 3rd guard. She struck him hard at the base of his neck, using a fighting technique she had learned years ago. The Velcor fell without a sound. The last guard was the most careful. He kept his back to the wall, and his weapon pointed at the main door. "I know you're out there, human," he called. "You cannot defeat the Velcor. Our reinforcements are coming." Jinnah didn't answer. Instead, she climbed into an air duct above the corridor. Moving silently, she positioned herself directly over the guard. When she dropped from the ceiling, the Velcor had no time to aim his weapon. Jinnah landed on his shoulders, her weight and the surprise taking him down. They fought briefly, the Velcor's strength against Jinnah's speed and skill. In the end, skill won. The cargo hold doors opened. Jinnah stood there, breathing hard but steady. "It's safe to come out now," she said to the surprised crew. "But hurry. We have a ship to save." The freed crew moved quickly through the ship. Engineers went to restore full power systems. Medical staff treated the injured. Security personnel, though few in number, helped secure the unconscious Velcor soldiers. Jinnah gathered a small team in the command center near the bridge. Captain Deho, Dr. Sunmei, Tawu, and Chief Engineer Bora listened as she explained the situation. "We've captured or neutralized most of the Velcor on board," Jinnah said, pointing to the ship's display. "But we have 2 problems. First, 3 Velcor soldiers are still free, and they're heavily armed. Second, Commander Krell sent a distress signal to the Velcor fleet before we captured him." "How long do we have?" asked the captain. Jinnah checked the long-range sensors. "The nearest Velcor warship will reach us in about 40 minutes. Bora looked worried. The Halcyon Asterisk is a research vessel. We can't fight a warship. We don't need to fight, Jinnah said. We just need to run. But first, we must secure the entire ship. She turned to the security display. The 3 remaining Velcor are moving toward the engine room. They're trying to disable our engines to prevent our escape. We should seal all doors to trap them, suggested Tawu. Jinnah shook her head. They have explosives that can breach our doors. We need to face them directly. She looked at the captain. Sir, I recommend you stay here with Dr. Sunmei and continue restoring ship functions. I'll deal with the remaining Velcor. Alone? Dr. Sunmei asked. That's too dangerous. I'll go with her, Tawu said suddenly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. I've seen what she can do. I can help. Bora stepped forward. I'll go too. Nobody messes with my engines. Jinnah nodded. We'll need to move fast. Follow my lead and stay behind me. The 3 of them moved through the ship toward the engine room. Jinnah went first, her borrowed Velcor weapon ready. They took a maintenance shortcut that brought them to a spot above the main engine control room. Through a small vent, they could see the 3 Velcor soldiers below. They were placing devices on the main engine controls. Explosives, whispered Bora. They'll destroy the whole drive system. Jinnah studied the room. There are too many places for them to take cover. A direct attack would be dangerous. She thought for a moment, then turned to Bora. The coolant system for this section, can it be redirected? Bora nodded slowly, understanding Jinnah's plan. Yes, there's an override panel right here. She pointed to a control panel on the wall near them. Good. When I give the signal, flood the room with coolant gas. It won't hurt them, but it will create a thick fog. They won't be able to see, but I can. From her pocket, Jinnah took out her special glasses that allowed her to see in poor conditions. She handed similar pairs to Tawu and Bora. Where did you get these? Tawu asked. I've had them since I came aboard, Jinnah said. Old habits. Bora moved to the control panel and prepared the coolant system. Jinnah positioned herself at the main entrance to the engine room. Tawu took a second entrance on the opposite side. Ready, Bora said over the communicator. Now, Jinnah ordered. Bora activated the coolant system. White gas poured into the engine room from vents in the ceiling. The Velcor soldiers looked up in confusion as the room quickly filled with a thick, cloudy mist. What is this? One shouted. Some kind of attack. They raised their weapons, firing blindly into the fog. But Jinnah was already moving. With her special glasses, she could see clearly while the Velcor were blind. She moved silently between machinery, approaching the first soldier from behind. A quick strike to a weak point in his armor, and he went down. The second Velcor heard his comrade fall and turned, firing wildly. Jinnah ducked under the shots and swept his legs from under him. As he fell, she disabled his weapon. The third Velcor was smarter. He had taken cover behind the main control console and was listening carefully. When Jinnah approached, he lunged forward, catching her by surprise. They fought hand to hand in the fog. The Velcor was stronger, but Jinnah was faster and better trained. She struck with precision at the weak points in his armor. Finally, the Velcor fell to his knees. Jinnah stood over him, weapon raised. Surrender, she said. The Velcor looked up at her with surprise in his yellow eyes. Who are you? He asked. No human moves like that. Jinnah didn't answer. Instead, she fired a stun blast, and the last Velcor soldier collapsed. All Velcor have been neutralized, Jinnah reported as she returned to the bridge with Tawu and Bora. The ship is secure. Captain Deho nodded. Good work. But we still have a problem. Long-range sensors show 3 Velcor warships heading our way. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Our engines are back online, Bora said. We can run. They're faster than us, Jinnah pointed out. They would catch us before we reach safe space. The bridge crew looked worried. Even with the ship back under their control, They were still in danger. Jinnah moved to the communication station. "Captain, we need to call for help. Earth has defense ships near the Proxima system. Our long-range communications were damaged in the attack," said the communications officer. "We can only send a basic signal, not a full message." Jinnah thought for a moment. "Let me try something." Her fingers flew over the controls as she accessed the ship's communication array. Everyone watched as she bypassed damaged systems and created new connections. "What are you doing?" Tawu asked. "Creating an emergency broadcast on a special frequency," Jinnah explained, "one that Earth Defense Forces monitor constantly." She pressed a final button, and a simple signal began transmitting from the ship. It was a pattern of pulses that seemed random to most of the crew. "Will they understand that?" asked Dr. Sunmei. Jinnah nodded. "It's a Spectre distress code. It tells them our location and that we're under Velcor attack." Captain Deho looked at the sensors again. "The Velcor ships are still coming. We need to buy time." "I have an idea for that too," Jinnah said. She moved to the weapons control station. The Halcyon Asterisk had only basic defensive weapons, not nearly enough to fight warships. "Tawu, help me modify these sensor probes," she said. Together, they worked quickly, reprogramming the ship's scientific probes. Jinnah added small devices from her personal kit to each one. "What are those?" Bora asked, pointing to the devices. "Signal emitters," Jinnah said. "They'll make each probe look like a ship on Velcor sensors." Understanding dawned on the captain's face. "A decoy fleet." Jinnah nodded. "We'll launch all 12 probes in different directions. The Velcor won't know which signal is really us." They launched the modified probes. On the screen, they watched as the approaching Velcor ships suddenly slowed, confused by the multiple signals. "It's working," Tawu said. "They're splitting up to chase the decoys." But one Velcor ship was still coming toward them. It had seen through the trick. "One is still on our tail," the captain said. "And it's closing fast." The minutes ticked by. The Velcor ship grew closer on the sensors. The crew prepared for another fight. Then suddenly, new signals appeared at the edge of their sensor range. "Captain," called the sensor officer. 5 ships just entered the system at high speed. They're Earth Defense Force vessels. The relief on the bridge was immediate. The approaching Earth ships were powerful military vessels, more than a match for the Velcor. The lead Earth ship sent a message. "This is Captain Lee of the EDF Thunderbolt. Stand down, Velcor vessels. This system is under Earth protection." The Velcor ships hesitated, then turned and jumped away into deep space. They were willing to attack a research vessel, but not to fight a proper battle fleet. As the Earth ships approached, a private message came through to Jinnah's personal communicator. It was from Captain Lee. "Operative Spectre 117, is that you? The Defense Force would like to offer you reinstatement. Your skills are still needed." Jinnah read the message, then looked around at the crew of the Halcyon Asterisk. These people had become something like a family to her. Tawu, who had shown unexpected courage. Dr. Sunmei, who had suspected her secret, but kept it quiet. Captain Deho, who had trusted her plan. Bora, who respected her skills. She typed a simple reply. "Thank you, but no. Spectre 117 is retired. I'm just a ship technician now." 3 days later, the Halcyon Asterisk was repaired and ready to continue its mission. The rescued colonists had been taken to Earth for medical care. The Velcor prisoners had been transferred to Earth Defense Force custody. Life on the ship was returning to normal. Jinnah was back at her usual station in engineering, quietly fixing a power relay. Bora approached her. "The captain wants to promote you to Chief Security Officer." Jinnah shook her head. "I prefer to stay in engineering. As a technician." Bora smiled. "As you wish." She turned to go, then paused. "You know, everyone respects your choice, but we're all glad to know who you really are." Jinnah looked up from her work. For the first time, she gave Bora a real smile. "Thank you," she said, "but the quiet technician is who I really am now. And that's enough."